After each riddle, you will have 15 seconds to think it over. If you think, just pause the video. And if you crack at least one mystery, hit the like button. All right, Sherlock, here we go. Counting down. Once a famous detective, Stevenson had to find an escaped prisoner. He knew the criminal was hiding in one of these houses, but he had to know the exact address so as to not frighten the criminal away. First, he took a photo of the houses with the help of a drone. When he looked at the photo, he realized where the criminal was. So, can you understand where that fugitive was and what helped the detective find him? You have 15 seconds. Your time has started. Are you ready to check your guesses? The murderer was in house A. You see, the car standing nearby was the only car parked facing the road. It would let the criminal escape quickly. Number 7. Detective Tragedy. One morning, the detective had an argument with his wife and went away without his cell phone and the keys. In the evening, he returned home. He found his colleague, his scared wife, and a murdered man. Stephen's wife told her story. I was sitting when I heard the doorbell. Thought it was my husband and opened the door, but a criminal pushed me, so I stabbed him. The detective ordered the policeman to his wife because she had planned to kill him. How did the detective figure out to rain? Unfortunately, Mrs. Stevens indeed planned to kill her. Husband. She went to open the door with a knife because she thought it was her husband. Number 6. Murder. Mary and Ben with their 4 friends. One day, home found Mary dead on he collected. The detective and realized that he had been so long ago. He had buried or for stories told. And was reading he had the place that she had been in a swimming pool for 3 years. Waiting her home. Past everyone. Show him their hands and him immediately. Person was the murderer. time is out. Here, pay attention to the hint, Jennifer. If she's the pool, the skin on her palm would. Jennifer, your pruny hands gave you away. Fine. A millionaire at his own home. Detective Stevens spoke to the millionaire's 3 sons, Jack, John, and James, who were at home. That night, John, their father, oh, let me guess, the wife's name is Jane, I'll bet. Father had an reception. They arrived home and entered the living room. His father first, then John himself. To the stairs, James entered the living room and shot their father. John confirmed Jack's information. James said he had visited his friends that night. When he arrived home, his father had already been dead. The detective understood everything immediately. So, who was the killer, and how did Stevens resolve that case? What do you think? The word of one brother against 2 others, a tricky case. Or have you already figured out what happened? Let's check if you were right. John and Jack lied. If James had killed their father, a bullet would have shot him in the nape because he wanted to go upstairs. However, the wound was on his forehead. All right, I was thinking it was Jane, but no. Number 4. Mr. and Mrs. Clyde went on a trip to the mountains, but 2 days later, Mr. Clyde returned home alone. He went to the police and said that Mrs. Clyde had fallen to her death. The next day, Detective Stevens visited Mr. Clyde and arrested him for his wife's murder. Clyde confessed his guilt and asked the murderer. Stevens said he simply called a travel agent and asked for some information. What did the travel agent say to the detective? What is your version? Did it have anything to do with the insurance, perhaps? You have just a few seconds left. Do you know the answer? The words of the travel agent shed light on the whole situation. Mr. Clyde bought 2 plane tickets to the mountains and only 1 return ticket. Ah, if only Mrs. Clyde had known. Hey, blame the Beatles. She didn't have a ticket to ride. Number 4. A man told the police that he'd come home from work to find a dead body lying in the middle of the parlor. He said she apparently found his mask and shot herself. However, policemen knew at once that the man was lying. How did he know? 15 seconds is all you have to solve this mystery. Policemen noticed that the man had an empty gun holster attached to his belt. It meant he'd either been about to take the gun with him or had it on him all along. The former couldn't be true because he said he'd come home from work and found his wife dead. That's why we are left with the latter. Not the latter, the latter, which proves that the man had actually shot his wife. Number 2. The detective was speaking to a doctor in a waiting room when a dismayed man rushed in and screamed, "Somebody shot my wife!" The detective. Hi, guys. And they answered all. They'll teach you to make the right decisions, and even perhaps one day they'll be useful to you in an emergency. Here, you'll need to make the right choice and stay alive. Let's go. Always about small need so get it. Making it real. After time and I go with him the world and days. This rest make